Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Greetings. Good mornings, everybody. How are you guys doing? It is Sunday, the 16th of July, 2023. It's 8 a.m. in New Zealand, and this is the NZ Travel Show. How's everybody doing today?
Amazing.
Awesome. I mean, we have a very boring subject for you guys today, but we are in high spirits at least. So
yes,
here you go.
We are.
And we have Kiwi Lauren, which is currently in New Zealand.
And Fabio as well, who's also on the chat. So Kiwi Lauren says, "Hi team, crazy. I'm out for a run in the hut, and I got a notification of the live show. I'm in your time zone instead of being Saturday afternoon in Canada. So cool. See you soon."
Yeah, we're seeing Kiwi Lauren on Tuesday, I think. So in only a handful of days, we're going to have breakfast together. That's going to be fun.
I love breakfast.
And she continued by saying that she climbed that adrenaline forest in Wellington yesterday. So fun.
We too have done that. You can check out the video we have on the channel of us doing adrenaline forest.
And I was totally not scared of heights.
Yeah,
totally fine.
not a great activity if you're petrified of heights.
Fantastic activity.
But it's really cool if you're looking for like a really cool like obstacle course. It's just really fun. And you do go really high in the trees. It like progressively gets higher and higher. I remember there was one obstacle that I just couldn't do, which is what they called like these UFO.
The flying saucers.
Flying saucers, that's it. Oh man, it was so hard.
Did you do the flying saucers? We want to know.
Yeah.
Fabio, another one of our awesome Patreons, is here from Greymouth, saying it's 7:57. Yeah, we started, we're always eager to hang out with you guys. Sometimes we start a bit early.
Yeah,
and we have Rick, which I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, my friends. We will be on the first name basis, you and I, Rick. And Rick says, Kia ora from Berlin. Kia ora, Rick. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us. So during this live show, you guys can ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. It's an open forum for you guys to ask us all your questions. And yeah, we'll go obviously through our subject of the week, our theme of the week, throughout obviously. But yeah, feel free to ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. Sorry, some people start talking Germans right now. That's not going to work very well.
Nappen? It's probably not spelt not.
Did you just attempt the last name? Wow, good job, good job.
Knappen or Nappen? I'm not sure.
Kiwi Loren says, I did a flying fox, but I'm not sure what the other one is. Did you say flying saucers?
Yeah.
So they're basically like there is a rope and there is a ring which is about that big of wood, and you've got to climb from one to the other. So yeah.
And so, like, obviously, if you just have like the rope in the middle of a piece of wood, obviously it's very unbalanced.
Yeah.
If you put one foot on there, it's not going to work. You have to hop with both your feet onto the next saucer, like at the same time, and I just found that so difficult. Yeah, I don't know if we got that one on video, but it would be pretty embarrassing if we did.
Kiwi Loren says, I'm under 5'3", so some of the obstacles were pretty tricky because my legs could just barely reach the next hold. Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't relate as I'm really tall, but I can feel that this definitely would be an issue.
Yes.
All right. So while you guys are coming up with some questions to ask us, if you do have any, we will just introduce our theme of the week. So without further ado, let me find where our theme of the week is. Here you go.
Okay. So
all right, Laura, what's our theme of the week?
our theme of the week is we are going to be going through a guide, if you will, of the passenger arrival card. So coming to New Zealand, it might not be as straightforward as you're used to in other countries. When you come to New Zealand, New Zealand has a very fragile ecosystem, also some customs requirements and various health requirements sometimes that you do need to be aware of when you're coming to New Zealand. And the way that they sort of go through that whole process, the start of this whole process of arriving, is with the passenger arrival card. Which you complete on your final flight as you are heading towards New Zealand.
All right, and so we will go over all the pages of the passenger arrival card, helping you with every single one of the questions that you will be asked, just to ease that pain when coming and arriving in New Zealand. But before we begin, I would like to quickly address the New Zealand Travelers Declaration. So if you've heard about the New Zealand Travelers Declaration or the Traveller Pass, this has been sunsetted. So in short, it's no longer in application since the 20th of October 2022. So you don't have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry about is the New Zealand passenger arrival card. With that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so we're having Fabio and Rick having a full German conversation, so I won't be able to take part of that, that's for sure. Rick says it is phonetically Knappen. It's a Belgian name, so you pronounce the N. There you go. Well, that was maybe correct what I said.
Yeah.
Fabio says, I will take an amazing shower in my motel. Never had such a good one anywhere, even not in Austria.
Where is this hotel?
Also, is it sarcasm or is it really good?
Yeah.
Because there are some motels in New Zealand that have either very low water pressure, some of them have, and that's the thing I like the least. But some of them, they have like, I feel like it's a high pressure
shower.
Yeah, I feel like it's a high pressure cleaner. Some of them is like it's kind of quite fun.
Yeah.
Rick is happy that I nailed his last name, so here you go. I'm just gonna stick with Rick. Now we started, my friend. We're just gonna go with first name basis.
Well, he's retracted his message, so he's obviously having second thoughts about praising you.
Fabio says, really great. It's in Greymouth. I will give you the name in a second. He's probably not sure.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of motels in Greymouth.
Greymouth is like motel town. There's really a lot of motels.
Yeah.
Last time we were in Greymouth, we didn't stay in a motel, actually. We stayed in a hostel.
We stayed in, was it called Travelers, Global Travelers or something?
Global Ark?
No, that was Noah's Ark. We stayed there a few years back, but Global Village. Village.
No, Global Village.
Global Village.
Yes, Global Village.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's where we stayed last time. We were in Greymouth. Very quirky hostel.
Rick says, first time in native says, but I have some good news.
Ooh,
what is the good news? I want to know the good news.
Let us know.
All right, so just to tease you guys, we'll begin with our traveler's declaration. With the passenger arrival card, and we'll go with Rick's big news after our first segment. So, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so the first thing
when you arrive in New
Zealand,
Zealand, follow the signs to passport control. The New Zealand Traveller Declaration.
So I'm gonna. Okay, so it went nuts. Everything's going nuts. Wait. Ah.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show.
Okay. What about we start this one in a nicer way? Everything went nuts. Williams Hotel Motel is
Hotel Motel. Holiday Inn.
Okay. So. Okay, so the first thing that we wanted to talk about is when you're going to need your passenger arrival card, that card I was showing you guys earlier. So when you arrive in an airport in New Zealand, you will basically off-board the plane, and you're going to show your passport and do all that. And then you're going to have a section which is the part where there is Customs New Zealand, where your bags are going to be inspected. And this is when you need that declaration. This is when they're going to take it, ask you a few questions about it, and make sure which box you have ticked and ask you follow-up questions on that. So do be aware that this is the time when that's going to be asked to you. And this video was made by beautiful NZ Customs. Is it easy to find where you need to give the paper?
Yeah, so basically where you need to show your passport, that's when it's a good time to just keep your passenger arrival card in hand. So first of all, when you arrive just off your flight, the first thing you're going to do is go through passport control. So for most nationalities, actually, you can just go through the e-gate, which is an automatic system where they scan your passport. At this point, you won't need to show your passenger arrival card. You just scan your passport and continue to the baggage claim area. However, if you are going manually, doing a manual check-in where one of the immigration officers will be checking your passport, they may ask for your passenger arrival card at that point. So that's why it's just handy to have it on hand with your passport, like for this whole sort of section as you're arriving in New Zealand.
All right.
So shall I continue after the baggage claim?
Yeah, go for it.
So you go to the baggage claim, you pick up all your checked-in luggage, and once you've got all your baggage, that's when you move on to the sort of second section where you're going to have your passenger arrival card checked, and that is biosecurity and customs. So there's going to be a few different queues. If you're at the Auckland airport, that is, they have different lines for whether you have things to declare or not. For most people do have things to declare, so that's usually quite a long queue. So pop into there, and then once you are called by one of the biosecurity officers at the front of the line, you just go up to their desk, and they'll check your passenger arrival card, and they'll just ask you some questions based on the answers that you have given.
All right, so this video was made by NZ Customs, and we thank them for sharing it with us. That's it. Moving on.
Anytime.
Yes, anytime now. All right. What's happening in the chat, Laura?
So where were we? We had
the big news by Rick.
Rick is here with this big news saying, a few months ago, I've asked some info about applying for a working holiday visa while being 30 and what time it is best to do it. And I followed it and I got it. Woo!
Nice,
yeah!
That's awesome. So when are you coming to New Zealand, Rick? That's epic.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
You still managed to get in there just before the age range was, before hitting the age limit. So that's awesome.
That's fabulous. Adil is here, saying kia ora, Robin, Laura, and all of you. How are you doing, Adil? We also have Kiwi Lauren saying, haha, I just said holiday in my head, and the exact time you said it out loud. Great minds.
Yes, exactly.
It's because you're now on the same time zone, right?
I know.
Usually when you were having thoughts in Canada, you were having them in Saturdays, and Laura was having the same thought on Sundays. Now you're having at the same time zone, so it just makes life easier.
That's it.
Jonathan Vincent, hey, that's been a while, my friends. He says, good morning. I haven't been here for a while, so I thought I'd pop in and say hi. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, hi.
Glad to have you on board. And Kiwi Loren says, I bought a gorgeous ukulele in the Waitangi Treaty Ground, and now I'm crossing my fingers that Canada is all good with me bringing the wood back home. Should be fine as it's treated, I'm thinking. Yeah, and also keep the receipts. Because quite often what they struggle with, pretty much all the countries, especially in New Zealand, is that when it's not industrially made and all these kind of things, so they kind of want the receipt to show that, it's the same thing for, if you want to bring some type of, packaged food, right? Some food is allowed to bring to New Zealand, but it has to be in its original packaging, and just bring basically whatever you have. Show that it was actually purchased, and not just made.
It wasn't just made by your gran.
Yeah, not made here on a random piece of driftwood that's going to be full of maggots. I mean, that's basically what they worry about. That's the job, right? So
yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, we'll continue with our little feature then. For there, I do not want to be any bugs. All right, so the first thing that we wanted to mention about the the passenger arrival card, is that New Zealand is currently rolling out a digital version of it. So you may not need, by the time you watch this, you may not need to do it on paper anymore. You may only need to be doing it digitally. Although those papers are still going to be given to you in your flight for the foreseeable future. Let's be honest, some people may not have done it online and everything, so instead of being giving this in your flight, you may be able to do it online. So at the moment, only passengers, and we're recording that in July 2023, only passengers arriving in Wellington and in Christchurch Airport from overseas are able to complete a digital version of the arrival declaration card instead of the paper one. So if you want to opt in and do it digitally, you can do so, but you have to land in Wellington and Christchurch to do so. Otherwise, if you're arriving in Auckland, if you're arriving in Queenstown, you still need to do it on paper. They're slowly rolling it out, so we expect them to have rolled it fully out, by the end of the year, digitally. So that means that everybody will be able to do it digitally if needed. It's not mandatory to do it digitally yet. It is still mostly a paper form, and we'll look at the paper form throughout this video. That said, all the questions remain exactly the same. Okay, Rick says probably going to fly next year in June. I want to avoid the busy season. That's very smart, my friend. That's what we always give as tips. Yeah, if you want to join us on Patreon, Rick, if you want to hang out with us much more while you prepare your working holiday and we share all our tips with you and everything, feel free to do so. There is a link to our Patreon group in the description of this video. Fabio is one of our members, so you'll be able to speak German with him forever if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's quite fun. Lingua Traveller is here. What's that saying?
Saying, where were you in February when I landed in Auckland? I declared my snack bars because I was scared of fines. They smiled and I said I didn't need to declare them, so it was a bit embarrassing. That's not embarrassing. Yeah. That happens all the time.
We declare snack bars all the time. We literally declared them less than a month ago when we came back from overseas again.
Yeah. So
and
actually, you have to declare them because it's food, and you have to declare all food. You are allowed to bring food to New Zealand, just certain foods you can't, like fresh vegetables and fresh fruit, for instance, and honey, that sort of thing. But you are allowed to bring quite a lot of different foods into New Zealand. You just have to declare them, and that is the rule. So, I mean,
I don't think they were, not
they weren't
happy.
sniggering behind your back, like,
not.
Oh, I can't believe they did that. That happens all the time. We go in and out of New Zealand quite often. We declare all the food that we bring back, even though we know it can pass through. But if you don't declare it, and they, your bags go through the biosecurity, go through the X-rays, and they see that you have food and you didn't declare it, you could get an instant fine.
Yeah.
So
no, you should declare it, and you did the exact right thing, and we do it all the time. So when we travel sometimes to the islands, we get some like prepackaged snack bars just because sometimes you go to places where they don't have breakfast and everything, so that's what we eat. And we declare them, and they kind of like, they look at it and like, oh yeah, cool, you go. And usually also it's reassure them that they, you know what you're doing, right? It's the same like we have like snorkeling gears, hiking boots, those kind of things. We always declare them, and then they ask, where did you use them? And I explain, I say, oh yeah, we went to a chasm and went to do some snorkeling there, and we snorkeled in the sea, and then I washed it with dish soap. I explain exactly what I did with it, like, cool. They kind of know. If you don't declare it, they're like, oh man, this is going to be like dirty camping gears and everything like that. So they'll be worried, and they look further. Because we know what we're doing, we declare it, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick says he will join Patreon next wages. So yeah, we're going to have a new friend on board. That's awesome. All right, so while you guys continue, we are going to get started with the first page. Okay, so this is the first page of the New Zealand passenger arrival card. So what does it say on the top, Laura?
So first you are given some instructions for how to complete the passenger arrival card. It also says, it's a legal document, be truthful. Otherwise you could get a fine at the airport.
Up to $400.
So yeah, just always, it's just basically it's a legal document. And it also asks that you complete the form in capital letters and in English. And mark answers where you have check boxes, like check circles more. They're not really boxes, they're circles in some areas. Where you need to check yes or no. You do it with a tick.
Okay, they say a tick, not a cross. Okay, so let's go over the first section. So the section number 1, as you can see, there is a little square on the left right here that says number 1. The first question is your flight number, the name of the ship. So that would be like, you will find that on your ticket, on your boarding pass, and it's going to be, as an example, NZ123 if it's a flight with New Zealand. The next thing that you ask to answer is your aircraft seat number. So that would be literally where you are sitting, and same thing, you can find that on your passenger boarding pass. So for example, that would be 12B. Then you have to put the overseas port where you boarded this aircraft. So do not write USA, for example, write New York. So where did you actually board your plane?
Yeah.
Then you need to put your passport number, so you'll be able to find that on your passport. And so, just write down whatever your passport number is. Then your nationality as shown on your passport. So even if you have 2 nationalities, you need to use the nationality and the passport number that kind of match the one you use to book this flight. So if you booked it under your US passport, then you do everything under your US passport. Then you're going to put your family name, which is your last name, and then your given or first name. And so that is like Robin. Don't write Robin, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be putting your date of birth. And so we are using the system that is the logical one. We do day, month, and year. But it's written on the paper. So day is going to be 2 numbers. Month is going to be 2 numbers. And year is going to be 4 numbers. Then you put your country of birth, same thing, that should be written on your passport if you can't remember. Then you put your occupation, that doesn't really matter, just put whatever job you did last, or even...
Or if you don't have a job, it's okay.
Tourists,
it's okay to put unemployed if you don't have a job.
It's absolutely fine.
Living the good life, just put unemployed,
Yeah, then you ask your full contact and residential address in New Zealand. If you do not have a residential address for the rest of your time in New Zealand, it's absolutely fine, just put your first hotel address. So the first time, the first place you're going to go at. Then you put your email address and your phone number. If your phone number is overseas, just make sure you put like +01, for example, if you're in the US. And that is it. You are done with the first section of the form. Good job. Okay, what else has happened in the chat while we were...
So Kiwi Lawrence says, a couple of hours after we meet for breakfast, I will be skydiving and bungee jumping. We'll make sure to share some pics and videos in the Patreon group.
Ooh, that's
make sure you don't have a huge breakfast. We'll make sure that you have a reasonably sized breakfast.
Yeah. What about you? You lay off on the hollandaise sauce.
the runny eggs. Yeah, we'll make sure that it's
eggs Benny with extra hollandaise
something
sauce.
that will stay.
That's funny. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I mean, your tandem master wouldn't really enjoy it so much. All right, what is Fabio saying?
Fabio says, I declared my shoes on and in my bag and told her I disinfected it, and she said, really? And I said, yes. And then she said, sounds great. Do not need to scan. Please go to 0 so I could pass the scan with the pilots and the stewardesses.
Oh, look at him. Premium treatment,
Nice.
VIP. And that's the thing, quite often, right? Like the general kind of rule, right, is... if you've declared everything you think you need to declare, then you instill confidence in the custom person, which is going to be right in front of you, and be like, okay, this guy's not trying to hide anything, and this guy understood what he read. Yes. If you declare nothing, the first train of thought is, did they understand what they wrote? Because most people that come to New Zealand come with hiking gears. Most people that travel have some snacks in their pockets.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, right? And the second thing, they may think, okay, they're trying to hide something.
Yeah.
And so usually if you kind of declare pretty much everything, you're kind of sweet, right? And they're still going to scan your bag anyway, so they'll be able to see what's inside your bag anyway, right? It's just kind of like, yeah, I think I think it's just always easier to declare more than not enough. That's my personal take anyway on it, yeah. All right, so should we go to page number 2, Laura?
Sure.
Okay, what about... Okay, let's start with page number 2, Laura. What about you? Read the questions and I'll give the answers.
Yeah, so for question 2A on the next side of the form, the question is, answer this section if you live in New Zealand, otherwise go to 2B.
So for most of you guys, just go to 2B. It's as simple as that. You don't have to write anything. Just move on.
Yeah, move on. And at 2B question is, answer this question if you do not live in New Zealand.
Okay, so the question, if you do not live in New Zealand, the first thing that you have to do is...
how long do you intend to stay in New Zealand?
So if you're immigrating in New Zealand, obviously you need to check the box that says permanently. Otherwise, just put your planned stay. And if you're not 100% sure, let's say you're coming on a working holiday visa, and you can stay up to 12 months, right? Just put 12 months and, you know, it's fine. You're on a working holiday visa. They will see that you have the right to do that, so that's fine. So yeah, or if you're traveling in New Zealand for a week, just put 7 days and you're all sorted. What's next?
Next is, if you are not staying permanently, what is your main reason for coming to New Zealand?
Okay, so you have a bunch of options. Visiting friend and relative, business, holiday vacation, conference, convention, education, or other. Okay, if you're on a working holiday visa, as a reminder, the main purpose of your trip to New Zealand should be to holiday in New Zealand with work as a second purpose. Therefore, the main purpose should be holiday vacation. If you're coming on as a tourist in New Zealand, make sure that you put holiday vacation. And yeah, aside from that, obviously tick the one that is the most appropriate. But for most people, it's going to be holiday vacations.
Yeah. The next question is, in which country did you last live for 12 months or more?
Okay, so this is to help them see if there is any kind of disease in the country you've stayed for a while or something that you need to be worried about. So literally just in the last 12 months, where did you stay for, you know, the most time? So yeah, right, USA, if you're from the US, then you have to state your state, province or prefecture, so New York State, for instance, and your zip code. Moving on to question 3.
Question 3, everybody has to answer this question, which is list the countries you have been in during the past 30 days.
So if within the past 30 days you actually have traveled in different countries, right? That usually doesn't include if you actually just changed plane and stay in the Dubai airport. You don't necessarily have to write that, but if you went outside, if you actually did travel a little bit around, if you did a bit of a stint in Asia before coming to New Zealand, then you do have to list that. It's an open kind of field, so you can list as many countries as you want. And same thing, they just want to check that you haven't been to places where there is, I don't know, the avian flu or this or that, and they just want to make sure about that.
And if you've only been in one country because you were just at home for the past... how many every day? 30 days. If you were just at home, you can just list the one country.
That is it.
Yeah.
Moving on, question 4.
Question 4 is, do you know the contents of your baggage?
So we start in the first yes, no kind of questions, and you're going to have a very long list of those. So yeah, obviously you need to know the content of your luggage because you pack them yourself. So check yes. I mean, you have to. No, if you don't travel with luggage, you don't know. That's simple. Moving on. Question 5.
Yes, question 5 is, are you bringing into New Zealand?
All right, and so then you have a list. Let's get started.
Okay, so first it's any food. So this is including cooked, uncooked, fresh, preserved, packaged or dried.
So again, it's any food. So you have to declare that you're bringing any food in New Zealand. So the answer, if you have any type of edible, is to check yes. Otherwise, you can check no.
Yeah. Next is animals or animal products, including meat, dairy products, fish, honey, bee products, eggs, feathers, shells, raw wool, skins, bones, or insects.
So if you're bringing any of those, or even any derivative from that, right? Like, for example, let's say bones, right? If you do have a necklace, you know, which is bone carving, that is still bone, right? So you need to check yes on that. Otherwise, check no.
Next is plants or plant products. So that includes fruit, flowers, seeds, bulbs, wood, bark, leaves, nuts, vegetables, parts of plants, fungi, cane, bamboo or straw, including for religious offerings or for medicinal use.
Exactly. So if you have a powder of some kind, which is like a wood bark powder or whatever, like fish powder, those kind of things, this still applies, right? If you have any kind of woven hat, which is palm woven or something like that, this still apply as well. So you've got to check yes.
And just to reiterate, just to tell people, you have to declare all this stuff, but it doesn't mean that it's completely banned from the country.
Yes,
so
they just want to check it.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right, that's the end of page 2. Let's go back to the live chat.
Okay.
All right, so we have Rick. Yes, Rick says,
Rick is asking,
what costs are coming along with declaring item? No cost whatsoever. So that's a really good question. If you don't declare something and you are caught bringing something which should have been declared, then the fine is 400 New Zealand dollars. If you declare it and let's say you shouldn't bring it, let's talk something about absolutely horrible. If you're a horrible person and you bring shark fin into New Zealand, first up, you are a horrible person. But let's say you declare it, it will go into the bin, it will be confiscated because it's not legal, and you won't be fined because you declared it. But if you don't declare it and they find it on you, then they will fine you and still take the items, of course. But that's basically what it is. And if you declare it and you can still keep it, they will say, thank you very much for declaring it. Good day, sir. That's kind of how it works, right? Just to make it really, really clear. And it can climb up, obviously, as Fabio is pointing out, it can climb up to 10k fine, right? But it starts at $400. Okay, what is Adil saying?
Adil says, is there an article on New Zealand Pocket Guide, NZ Pocket Guide website about the New Zealand passenger arrival card? Of course there is. I think Robin should have put a link in the description below.
Oh, you think right.
Usually does. So
yes,
yeah,
so the link in the description.
Look in the description and you'll find the article there where it's all detailed. And then there's further links to if you're unsure about, okay, are there some things that I'm not allowed to bring into New Zealand? Then you will find links to that on that particular page. So
you have like the full list of things you absolutely shouldn't bring, as well as a copy of what we're showing you on screen as well, the copy of all the declaration and everything. So there is really a lot of information for you there. Rafakat is here from Leeds.
Cold Leeds.
And rainy Leeds. It is cold and rainy here in New Zealand too, so we feel you, my friend.
But at least it's summer where you are, so I'm not feeling too sorry for you, Rafakat.
Adil says, if there is, can you please give us a link to it? Yeah, it's in the description of the video, my friends, the link. Fabio says machine guns, for example. Yeah, I mean, machine guns is not a good thing to bring to New Zealand. What about you leave that at home with your shark skins as well?
Yeah, you can also leave things
shark fin, sorry. Shark skin, you should bring shark skins. Shark skin is actually a brand of Rashi's vests that we use, actually. That's why I just misspoke. Yeah. But yeah, that's actually a really good brand of Rashi's. So yeah, you can buy that.
But not literal shark skin.
No,
don't bring that into New Zealand. Don't bring in, you can leave the cocaine at home, perhaps.
yes, as well. This is not allowed in New Zealand. No, don't.
So all that sort of stuff. Again, we have articles on nzpocketguide.com. Specifically, if you're looking for things that you can and can't bring in, we have an article called What to Declare When Arriving in New Zealand. So check that one out for the list of restricted and prohibited items.
Okay, Fabio says, not that cold. Basically, he's asking us to stop complaining. It's about 13 degrees in Greymouth right now. Yeah, no, it's really not that cold.
It's actually quite mild for a winter's day in New Zealand.
To be fair, the reason I was on my phone a few minutes ago while Laura was talking to you guys, because I was trying to turn off the heater because it was actually cooking us. So, yeah, no, I feel fire. It's not that cold. All right, should we do the next page?
Yes, let's.
All right, so on the next page, that's page number 3 right here. We're starting with a continuation of question 5, isn't it?
Yes, it is a continuation of question 5, and it concerns other biosecurity risk items, which includes, are you ready for the list? Any medicines, biological...
No, animal.
Oh, sorry. Animal medicines, biological cultures, organisms, soil, or water.
So that's probably going to be no for the vast majority of travelers. The one that would be biological culture would be if you're traveling with...
kombucha.
Yeah, kombucha, or even the kind of, the things to make the cheese, right? You can put some
cultures.
Yeah, cultures make cheese and everything. But why would you? Anyway, moving on. Just check no on this one. Come on. Oh, yeah,
unless you have
yeah,
such
obviously,
things,
if you have such, or if you really haven't watched your feet for so long and you have biological culture in between your toes.
Yeah, if you literally have soil still on your shoes, you know, that's also what they're kind of asking.
Exactly. So do make sure that, and we'll talk about that actually in the next question.
Next is equipment/clothing used with animals, plants, or water, including for gardening, beekeeping, fishing, water sport, or diving activities.
Okay, so if you do come to New Zealand with snorkeling gears, with fins, with a camping tent, with a sleeping bag, with hiking shoes, those kind of things need to be declared. The only thing that's going to happen at that point is they're going to ask you to show it to them, and they're going to look that there's no extra dirt on there. And if there is, they're literally going to give you a brush and ask you to brush them up.
The thing that we do when we arrive back in New Zealand is we usually have those hiking shoes. Actually, this is more concerning the next point, but we actually have those hiking shoes or walking shoes on our feet. So when they ask to see them, we literally just lift up our feet and say, "This is the shoes that you were asking about." So yeah. So also if you do have any items that you think will be likely to be checked by biosecurity in New Zealand, or that you'll have to declare, it's always easier to have them somewhere quite easy to access.
We tend to do like one of our carry-on bag is just full of those, and so like that we just have one to open.
Yeah. Next on the list is items that have been used for outdoor activities, including any footwear, tents, camping, hunting, hiking, golf, or sports equipment.
So that's basically what I was mentioning before. Anything that you may use for outdoor recreational purposes, make sure that you check yes if you are bringing any of those. And again, the only thing that's going to happen, they're going to look at them to see if they're being properly cleaned. That is a good segue for us to tell you to make sure to actually clean them. Make sure that whatever you're bringing in your bag is actually clean, because otherwise you're just going to have to clean stuff outside, and it's not that fun. All right.
Next up is, in the past 30 days, while outside of New Zealand, have you visited any wilderness areas, had contact with animals, except domestic cats and dogs, or visited properties that farm or process animals or plants?
So that's to tell them basically what to look for when looking at your equipment and when looking at your gears. So do make sure that you answer that truthfully. It's yes or no. Moving on to question number 6.
Question number 6 is more concerning things to do with customs in New Zealand rather than biosecurity. And again, it's asking you what you're bringing in. So are you bringing into New Zealand? First up, medicine. Over 3 months' supply of medicine not prescribed to you.
So it's really important, if you're bringing medicine to New Zealand, to actually bring your prescription with you in order to show that this has been prescribed to you. If possible, bring that prescription in English. And even when we're talking about contraceptive pills, if you're bringing more than 3 months, just because you don't want to have the hassle of having to deal with that when coming to New Zealand, when being in New Zealand, do make sure that you answer that truthfully, and try to stick to the 3 months supply, just to actually avoid having to kind of deal with that nonsense of customs. Moving on, next up.
Next up is restricted or prohibited goods. For example, weapons, indecent publications, endangered plants or wildlife, illegal or controlled drugs.
So literally, we joked about every single one of those at some point during this live chat. But yeah, don't bring any of those kind of things. And if you do, declare them so you avoid facing prosecution.
Yes, but ideally just don't bring those specific things in.
No, that'd be nuts. Don't.
Next is alcohol. More than 3 bottles of spirits not exceeding 1.125 litres each, and 4.5 litres of wine or beer. So that's basically the duty-free allowance.
That's basically your duty-free allowance. So on this one here, if you're bringing more than that, you may be able to keep them. You will just have to pay duty on it. So you have to pay basically the taxes on that. And that leads to the next segue, which is all about
tobacco. So yeah, more than 50 cigarettes or 50 grams of tobacco products, including a mixture of cigarettes and other tobacco products.
All right, if you do bring more than that, you'll have to pay duty on the remaining above. So make sure you declare it, because if they find it on you, then they're really going to be like, this is something that everybody knows. You're going to get a fine, and that's going to be more than the $400.
Yes. Next is goods obtained overseas and/or purchased duty-free in New Zealand with the total value of more than 700 New Zealand dollars, including gifts.
All right, so that's basically kind of like any kind of items which are still kind of packaged, right? So if it's something that is used and that you're using, it's kind of like, it's fine. You know, your cell phone is probably going to be more than 700 New Zealand dollars. So those kind of things, you don't necessarily have to declare them. But goods, anything which is still packaged, like, you say, oh, it's for gift, and I have like a present for this 3 or 4 or 5 family members that you have and that you're going to be visiting. Even if they're packaged and they could be considered something that you may try to resell, basically you've got to declare it.
Next is that was more specific to duty-free goods. Next is goods carried for business or commercial use.
So speaking of reselling, anything that you probably will want to use, resell or anything like that, you will need to declare it.
Goods carried on behalf of another person.
Why would you do that?
I don't know, do them a favour?
No, that's crazy. You need to know what's packaged. You don't know if they're not going to line it with crazy things. No, I've watched the TV shows.
And next is cash. So 10,000 New Zealand dollars or more, or the foreign equivalent, including traveller's checks, bank drafts, money orders, etc.
Who use traveller's checks nowadays? But yeah, so if you are bringing more than $10,000 in cash and currencies, any kind of different currency that you're using, you will need to declare it, as there is some restrictions in how much cash you can carry around due to money laundering laws.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to question number 7.
Okay, question number 7 is, do you hold a current New Zealand passport, a residence class visa, or returning residence visa? If yes, go to 10. Next is, are you...
No, wait. So on this one here is basically if you are on any other type of visa. So basically you're watching this because you're probably a traveler coming to New Zealand. So the answer is no right here. Because you do not have a residence visa or returning resident visa. So you will need to check no on this one.
Next is, are you a New Zealand citizen using a foreign passport? If yes, also go to 10.
Okay, you're probably going to have to check no on this one for the same circumstances.
Yeah. Next is, do you hold an Australian passport, Australian permanent residence visa, or Australian resident return visa? If yes, go to 9.
All right, so if you are holding, if you're Australian basically, you get to skip the queue and do some less questioning. Okay, that's the end of page 3 of the New Zealand Travelers Declaration card. Let's move on. And we're going to celebrate Rick, which is our newest Patreon member. I just got a boop on the phone right here. So welcome, Rick. Welcome on board.
Yeah, nice.
You will have another hour of this show actually coming up right after this one, where we'll hang out and look at some photos actually today. So that's going to be fun. I will check on Facebook to see if you have asked to join the group, because this is where you're going to get the link. Actually, the link may even be on Patreon as well, but I'll check that on Facebook. All right. Did you guys ever stressed about doing that New Zealand Travelers Declaration? The first time you did it, did you ever stress about it? Like, is this something that stresses you guys before we do the last page? Or
I think when I first arrived in New Zealand, this was the first time that I'd had to do anything like this, because like in Europe, where I'd been around in Europe or returning to the UK, we'd never had to go through a biosecurity process or anything.
You may have to do it now.
So yeah, but yeah, I think it was a little bit stressful knowing like, I don't know, be just a little bit unsure because it's the first time I'm doing the process. However, I did a little bit of research prior to traveling, and that's kind of like what we're doing for you guys right now. It's like, reassuring you that it's actually a very easy and simple process, as long as you just declare all the appropriate things, and that's kind of how you make it as easy as possible for you.
The more transparent you are, basically, the least problem, because like that's the thing, we had somebody today that was commenting, Lingua Traveler, that was saying, I felt embarrassed because I declared something I shouldn't have. It's kind of like, no, just declare whatever you want to declare, like everything, and so it's just safer for you. It's as simple as that, right? Don't try to hide anything, there's no point, Cool, Fabio says, no, it's not stress, it is quite clear, but the livestock thing was a bit complicated. Well, in case, just check yes. That's the thing. If you have any doubt on any question, check yes and then explain yourself to the person. That's going to be much easier.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I see the little heart popping in again. It's happening again.
It's cute to see the little heart.
Okay, Kim Loren says, I'm having such a blast on this trip. My heart is so happy seeing all my friends that I've gone without for way too long. Excited that I still have a full week left, but already sad to leave.
Oh, no.
Or find new friends. Meeting up with you guys would be fun. It will indeed be really fun. That is... Just don't start thinking about the fact that you're leaving already in a week, right? Just keep taking the moments, right? Be sad that you leave when you're in the plane. You know, it's kind of like, don't start
Make the
thinking
most
ahead.
of the last week, for sure. Make the most of it. Rick
says he only did it in Australia, and with limited of experience of English, it was really challenging filling the card.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, again, even if you are feeling stressed about your English when coming to New Zealand, right? Which obviously, if you went to Australia, you're now fully bilingual, right? Honestly, just check yes in case you're stressed. It's just as simple as that. Yeah. Just check yes in case you're not sure, because it's always easier to over declare.
Yeah.
Kieran says, "No, I'm not really actually sad yet, but I want to stay for months." Well, you're gonna have to bring the family then.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure there is a child of yours that's kind of like, where's mummy? What's Fabio saying?
Fabio says, I did that and the lady was happy. I have taken it because it's better to declare than not to. Yeah. I was somewhat in the area of sheep, but did not get in touch with. Did not touch them.
Yeah. So that's the thing, as Fabio just said, right? In case you're not sure, just declare it. What's the harm? What's the harm? The guy's gonna ask you, so what do you mean by you hang out with some sheep? and that's it. That's as simple as that.
I mean, you could go into as much detail or as little as you want. And usually the more detail you go into, they're just like, okay, move on.
Yeah, move on already. But yeah, that's why, the first couple of times when they declared stuff, I was explaining, this is how I cleaned it, blah, blah, blah. And then they were no, just so now I have my one pre-made sentence, something like, literally, I did things. They're like, yeah, just move along. God, why did you do your homework? I hate you, boo. And that's basically it.
Kiwi Lauren says that she was just going to say that she does miss the boys at home, but you know what I mean. Yeah, we know what you mean.
Yeah. And I know you trade your family for New Zealand. I know it. Let's just put that on record right here. Let's just.
Fabio says, I did not find some new sheep friends. I mean, yeah, that's what I would want to say to the customs officer. Like, well, I made some friends with Ba, Rex, and Baba.
Why is the one called Rex? Why is one sheep called Rex in your fantasy?
Yeah.
Rick says he's almost trilingual. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
So I'm guessing if he's Belgium, that would be French, German, and English.
Is he correct, Rick? Is he correct? Is that the three languages you can speak? Kiwi Lauren says, I got to see a neat Matariki display at the waterfront in Wellington on Friday. They had a fountain in the lagoon and they were projecting Maori videos on it. Really cool.
Yeah, I've seen some really cool display for Matariki over the weekend. So if you guys don't know, Friday was Matariki, and so we had a long weekend. So Matariki long weekend, which is the newest public holiday here in New Zealand. So everybody's kind of like dabbling on how to kind of celebrate it. Like nearby where we were, they had like some dances and some kind of like cultural performances, yeah. And so that's kind of like what they had here. Not too far as well, they were doing a massive meetup where everybody's having way too much food, which was fun. So that everybody's kind of like dabbling into like what would be like the standardized celebration of Matariki in the next few years.
In Nelson, in the South Island, this year they did sort of in one of the parks, they did sort of a lights display, as well as in Christchurch as well.
Oh, yeah.
They sort of do like a decorating one of the city parks with like beautiful light art and that sort of thing, so you can enjoy it at night, because, well, it is still, Matariki falls in winter in New Zealand, therefore the nights are coming sooner, so that's like kind of a really good time to do sort of light displays.
Indeed. Machua X is here. Morena, how are you doing today? I'm doing awesome. Laura's doing awesome. We're all doing awesome. What did you do for Matariki, Machua? Machua is one of our lovely Patreon subscribers. Okay, we missed.
Rick says that it was
as well.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
They have been rather rude and stayed away from the fence when I was visiting them. The ship, he says.
Oh, how rude!
Yeah, they're skittish sometimes.
And Rick says it's Dutch, English, and German. Not French,
wrong.
Robin. Nobody wants to learn French.
No, it's a terrible language to learn. Too many rules.
And then, Fabio was saying that we had such a great Matariki festival in Nelson. We had a waka haki, which was a competition, and lots of fun, and music, and modern Maori was great.
Nice. Oh, well, that's fun.
Nice.
That's a good thing. The good thing is that right now it's not too standardized. It will become, at some point, standardized, but right now it's not, so I like it. Okay, Rick, don't forget to join the Patreon group on Facebook. You should have an email in your inbox.
And that way you can get a link to
the live show in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's what it is. Let's look at the last page while we're doing that. Okay, last page of the declaration. So we're starting with question number 8.
Okay, question number 8 is all others. So basically all others that didn't answer the previous question. You must leave New Zealand before expiry of your visa or face deportation. Are you coming to New Zealand for medical treatment or consultation or to give birth?
So the answer should be no right here. I mean, New Zealand is not a destination where you can come and use the medical facilities. So the answer should be no right here. But then you have to select one. What are the 2 things you have to select?
One. I hold a temporary entry class visa. Tick yes if you currently hold a visa, even if it is not attached as a label to your passport. Or I do not hold a visa and I am applying for a visitor visa on arrival.
Okay, so I hold a temporary anti-class visa. It's kind of all your type of visas, which are like everything from a working holiday visa to an actual visitor visa if you had to apply for a visitor visa before coming to New Zealand, and all of the other kind of visa that you can get. However, if you haven't applied for a visa, therefore, even if you're coming because your country doesn't need a visa to visit New Zealand, let's say you're coming just for six months or
but you had to do the NZETA.
But you had to do the NZDT, yeah? What do you tick?
Then you tick, I do not hold a visa and I am applying for a visitor visa on arrival.
Here you go. So even if you had to do the NZDTA, you've got to tick that you do not have it. It's just an automatic process. You won't have to sit down and do a full visa application.
No.
Don't panic. But it's just what you have to
basically
tick.
so they can put the stamp in your passport.
Exactly.
And that's as quick as it will be.
All right. Question number 9.
Question number 9 is, have you ever been sentenced to 12 months or more in prison or been deported, removed or excluded from any country at any time?
So if you're Laura, you say yes to all. But if you're a nice person, you need to check no. But if that has happened to you before, you need to check yes. It doesn't mean that you will be denied entry to New Zealand, but they're just going to be looking into what happened.
Yeah. And for number 10, finally, the final question is, I declare that the information I have given is true and complete.
It's not really a question. They're just going to ask you to sign and to put the date right here. And if you are traveling with somebody which is under 18, you are signing for them as their legal guardian. So here you go. After that, there is a little bit of information about what is the information that you are providing going to be used for. It's more of an informational kind of a piece of information, so you can't come in without doing that declaration. So you've got to say yes and say, well, thank you very much for gathering all my information and keeping it forever for your statistics, and easy to be hacked by hackers. Yay!
One more thing is that passenger arrival cards must be completed for everyone. Even if you are traveling with children, infants, you have to complete a passenger arrival card for them as well.
All right, so that's everything you need to know about the traveler passenger arrival card. And if you do have any extra questions, there is a link in the description of this video with the full article and with PDF version of this one. And you can also contact New Zealand Customs. They have a great website with plenty of information there. In the meantime, make sure to like, subscribe, and we get plenty of other videos on the channel. What about you check them out? All right, let's go back on the live chat.
Where are we at? We are at
Matua. I took the day off, Maori Day, and went to the Rotorua Luge for first ride, and he also did the swing.
Swing, awesome.
That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. Wow, that's a interesting way to celebrate. That's definitely not too traditional, is it? I like it.
I like that. That's cool. Adil says, what about medical equipment / appliances? Declare or not? So it's medicines. You do have to declare medicines.
But if it comes down to like wheelchairs or anything like that, you don't need to declare those kind of things.
So it's only medicines that are over the 3 months prescription. But you don't need to. If you're bringing loads of medicines, then yes, you'll have to declare it. But if it's just for like a week trip or a 2-week trip, it doesn't ask you to declare it on the card. But obviously, when in doubt, if you do have anything that doesn't quite fit, if you're like, I'm not sure if this fits the question or not, just tick yes, and then declare it anyway, and then you can still explain yourself to biosecurity officers.
Kiwi Loren has a good question. She said, nobody checked my NZDTA at all upon arrival. Is that because maybe connected to my passport numbers? Yes, it's kind of an electronic thing. So it's usually, so the airline gets it first, check that it's done. And then, if there is a problem, then it goes to like the authority and everything. But usually this is not. So it's all automatic and it just always happens. Rick says, thank you for the reminder. I have joined the group. Cool. I just accepted you in there. You should have the link in there for the Patreon show happening in about 5 minutes.
Yep. Fabio says the ETA should be checked by your airline in advance when you are checking in for the flight.
Well, what I said.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, nobody asked for my ETA at any point in my travel. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all electronic.
Yeah, it's all happens. It's the computers talking to other computers.
Yeah. If you did not do it, and when you were checking in, the staff would see that you hadn't done it, and then you would probably question you and be like, well, you do not have an ETA, an NZETA, and you're supposed to have one.
Fabio says the NZ system broke down during my check-in and they had to call New Zealand. That's funny.
Just also to make it clear to anyone coming on other visas to New Zealand, if, for instance, again, if you had to physically apply for a visitor visa or you had to apply for a working holiday visa, for example, then you would not need to do an NZETA.
Yes.
That sort of all that pricing system is included in your visa. So you sort of pay these, you already pay a fee for your visa, and that's sort of all included in that. You don't have to do an extra NZETA on top of that if you've already had to pay to do a visa.
She's right. Matua says, I went to the Tepuya and performed with my cousins. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, amazing.
That's such a great place to perform as well. That's really cool. Did you actually get to roam around Tepuya as well a little bit, or
see some geothermal?
Yeah, that's such a cool
geysers
place.
And that sort of thing. Yeah, we love Tepuya. We do have a video on the channel of us also visiting Tepuya, which was really, really cool and special experience.
Fabio says, sharing a bit of his nightmare at the airport, said the officer took so long that the system restarted again. My airport lady just hung up on him 40 minutes.
Oh.
Wow. I mean, if the computer breaks down, the humans having to take over sometimes are not the...
Not as good as computers.
Not as good. Not the fastest. We're just going to go with not the fastest. We travel a lot in countries where processes are taking a little bit of time, and sometimes you got to hang on for I don't know how long when that's happening, but it's okay. It's okay.
We just arrived from a country that's only just switched to doing printed, like machine printed boarding passes to get back on the plane. What they used to do when we went there in 2019 was they used to do handwritten boarding passes to get onto the Air New Zealand flight.
So now you actually get an actual plane ticket, but the lady literally used to be in front of you writing the ticket on a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
So that improved. So some places are just getting their system together, just because with a low amount of tourists as well, the investments need to come. Matua says he didn't get to roam the area. That's sad. Oh. Okay, Adil says, I've emptied my medication and peeled into dispensers that don't have the original packaging. Will my medication be confiscated? It may. You probably should keep the packaging and get a prescription and all that. This is not an advisable thing to do. We actually have had this question before on the channel, maybe by you actually, and we said you shouldn't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Maybe just for this, for this one-off trip, have them in the original boxes.
And bring your empty dispenser with you, and then when you pass custom, it's fine. Yeah. You can sort it out afterward. It's fine, right? But it's just when you go there, it's not a good idea, mate. I strongly advise against doing that. Fabio says, I think that they have a big binder where all the ETAs are sorted by date of issuing. Wow, that would be a really big binder, my friend.
Let me just find you.
And Rick is finding it funny. He says, that sounds like Germany. All right. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for a very lively live show. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for participating and asking a lot of questions. It was great. Next week, we're going to be talking about the weather in August. Aha, I'm saying before somebody asks. And that's basically it. Yes, we do have a live show for the Patreons happening right now, where we're going to be looking at some picture of our New Year trip. So that's going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, I wish you all fun day.
Yeah, Fabio says he's not coming to Patreon today.
Well,
so,
he's in New Zealand. He's exploring New Zealand.
You.
Oh, I'm sorry, but my Patreon live show is not as good as exploring New Zealand itself.
You could definitely, have a pass. If you are in New Zealand and you're doing something cool, then you don't have to come.
No, he said I'm going to drive to Countdown. He's going to the supermarket.
Oh, okay.
We said something cool. Something cool, my friend. You need to do something cool. All right, everybody, thank you very much. See you all next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Stay safe.
Bye.